The question is, which property of DNA double helix led Watson and Crick to hypothesize semi-conservative mode of DNA replication? Explain. The answer to this question is, Watson and Crick observed that the two strands of DNA are antiparallel to each other and they are complementary as they show complementary base pairing. Now, the organization of DNA molecule of this type is what led to this particular hypothesis that replication of DNA is semi-conservative. The DNA molecule, it splits and separates into two strands, and one strand acts as a template for the synthesis of new complementary strand during replication. Now, once the complementary strands are formed, the newly formed DNA molecule will consist of the parent strand and the daughter strand, where daughter strand is the one that is the newly formed strand, and the parent strand is the one that is conserved during replication and is derived from the previous strand of DNA which underwent replication process. So therefore, semi-conservative mode of replication takes place in DNA. Now, if you look at the diagram, you can see that this DNA molecule, which has two strands and they are helically arranged, the two strands separate from each other, and each of the strand acts as a template strand and thus undergo replication, and a new daughter strand is formed along with it. So one DNA molecule is divided into two DNA molecules, and each of the DNA molecule has a daughter strand, which is the newly formed strand, and a parent strand, which is the strand from the previous DNA. So, some part of the DNA is conserved in the newly formed DNA molecule. So, that is why it is known as semi-conservative replication in case of DNA. And thus, Watson and Crick could conclude this particular type of replication by looking at these two properties of DNA, which is antiparallel nature and the complementary base pairing.